Inside bad, outside good. Inside bad, outside good. Oh, you're done now. Great. B-E-A-U.
Some of you folks may recognize this next area we're driving into right now, but for those of you who don't, let me, shall we say, take you back in time. That's right, guys. Welcome back to downtown Hill Valley, California, made famous in Robert Zemeckis' Back to the Future trilogy. But as you can see from your HD screens, this area has been seen in many other films as well, including all the way back in 1962 when it appeared in To Kill a Mockingbird, starring Gregory Peck. Off to your left-hand side, you get a very famous courthouse building set, and there it is on your HD screens at Back to the Future Part 2. I've got the producer of Back to the Future, Bob Gale, here along with star Christopher Lloyd to talk a little bit more about this very famous portion of our backlot.
It was actually the back lot, the courthouse square, that inspired the entire climax to Back to the Future.
I had scenes up in the clock tower on that ledge. It was a ledge about that wide. And I was standing inside looking at the ledge, and I already had vertigo. And I just thought, there's no way in the world, no way I'm going to stand on that. I was up there for quite a while. Of course, I had a cable.
You may also recognize Courthouse Square as the fictional town of Grandview, New York, in Ghost Whisperers, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt. Some of you might be wondering if that is indeed the original courthouse building set. I can show you, yes, the original courthouse building set is over there on your left-hand side. It gives me a great opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the difference between facades and practical sets. So you see, most of the older sets you're going to see out on the back lot, including the courthouse building set, are just built as facades, meaning that only the front and sides of the buildings are built. With facades, we only build what the camera sees, and your imagination fills in the rest. Because of the opportunity afforded to us by our recent redevelopment of our Metro sets, some of the newer sets, including some of the sets we're passing by right now on either side of the camera, are built as partially practical sets, meaning you can shoot both inside of them as well as outside of them. It costs a little money to build practical sets, but it almost doubles the usefulness and capacity of those sets. Now, I'm sure those of you from the East Coast are recognizing the street we're driving down right now, and who better to welcome us to it than my celebrity co-host, Jimmy Fallon, live from New York.
Hey everyone, welcome to New York! I got my start right here in New York on Saturday Night Live. This is actually my old neighborhood. What's got mugged over there? By an old woman. Tough lady. This is my favorite hot dog guy. Hey buddy, how's it going? Remember me? No. Just like old times. Gotta love New York City. Hey! I'm walking here! I'm walking here! Hey, it's cool guys. I was just walking there. So it's not exactly New York, but a lot of times when you see New York in the movies, it was shot right here on the Universal Metro sets. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Even if you make it here on the Universal lot.
Our Metropolitan area sets are used all the time for production. Recent films that have been shot out here include The Amazing Spider-Man, starring Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. Also Captain America, The First Avenger, starring Chris Evans. Lots of TV shows shoot out here all the time as well, like NCIS, TV's #1 drama, starring Mark Harmon. ABC's Revenge, The Mindy Project is out here all the time as well. And just yesterday when I was watching football on Thanksgiving, I saw a few commercials that were shot out here as well, I believe from Ross and TJ Maxx. So if you're watching football yesterday, you probably also saw New York Street as well. One of the people behind the creative redevelopment of our metropolitan area sets a few years back was none other than longtime Universal collaborator Steven Spielberg. He got his start right here on the Universal lot, and here to tell us a little bit more about that is the man himself, Mr. Spielberg.
When I was about, 16 years old, and I began hanging out at Universal during my summers. When I went to college nearby, I continued to come on the lot and try to become a director. So Universal sort of is my birthplace. This is a place I consider my first home, and I love it here, and I keep coming back.
Academy Award-winning director besides Mr. Spielberg, we're very proud to have worked with here at Universal, is a New Zealander. His name is Sir Peter Jackson. He directed a movie that came out in 2005 for us. It was called King Kong.
It's the original King Kong that made me want to direct movies. I saw that movie on TV when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I wanted to become a filmmaker.
Action!
I like films that just take you away from your real life and sweep you up an adventure. Kong literally does that. I mean, you're on board the ship, you're sailing to a lost island, you're encountering monsters and creatures from, prehistoric times. So I was thrilled when Universal invited me back to Skull Island, and it's great to have you along for the ride. Now, we have created...
In the film franchise, is this more evident than in our Fast and the Furious film franchise? We have a car from the latest Fast and the Furious movie over there on the left-hand side. It's the flip car. That latest Fast and the Furious movie was appropriately called Fast and Furious 6.
Ja Rule on, yeah.
Now don't you worry, Fast and the Furious fans, there is a Fast and the Furious 7 in production. It's going to be released next summer. You guys keep buying tickets for them, we're going to keep making them. That's a promise. But just like in our globe-trotting Fast and the Furious movies out here in the backlot, the world is right around the corner. In the Lost World Jurassic Park, where it was being pushed over a jungle cliff by a pair of angry T-Rexes. I've got that scene right here, right now for you guys. Check it out. Oh no! Looks like there's some wildlife left over for the making of those films. Well, don't you worry, guys. It's just corrosive acid. It'll wipe right off. As we saw in this last clip, weather played a very important role in the Jurassic Park movies. You always notice whenever a terrifying dinosaur showed up, it was usually pouring with rain. It really helps set the mood of the films. Now here in Southern California, today being an exception, we usually have boring old sunshine day in and day out. In fact, all this sunshine is one of the main reasons why Hollywood is located here in Southern California in the first place. The original pioneers of the movie industry, like our founder, Carl Laemmle, started out on the East Coast in cities like New York and Chicago, but they heard about this magical place called California, which had over 300 days of sunshine a year, and they were shooting outdoors for both their interior and exterior scenes, so they moved Hollywood out to here to California. That's why it's here to this day. But why am I talking to you guys about sunshine when I got NBC's own Today Show weatherman, Al Roker? Al?
Hi everybody, here's today's forecast for the Universal Backlot. It's going to be sunny and dry in 6 Points, Texas. Cool and cloudy in Little Europe. Expect snow and sleet on New York Street, and we've got a hot... That's your forecast for today. Now here's a look at what's going on.
What's that? A flash flood. Well, don't worry about that, guys. Take a look off to your left-hand side to see a demonstration of how we create rain for the movies. Because we have all this sunshine here in California, we sometimes have to manufacture our own weather. And as you can see, all we do is we have pumps of water to a very tall point, like the top of a telephone pole or a roof, spray the water upwards and outwards and all to fall naturally to the ground. It's a giant sprinkler system, basically. And if you take a look at your screen, you'll see I turned on our live tram. It's going to look like in action on screen. It's realistic. It looks pretty realistic, doesn't it? Now, you guys in cars 3 and 4, you guys are going to be my eyes and ears this afternoon. Because you can see up that hill better than I can. If that flash flood that Al predicted actually does happen, could you guys just give me a bit of a heads up, wave your arms wildly? Guys, let's do it right towards you! Oh, the humanity. Yes, we created this flash flood effect as well, guys. We did it by releasing hundreds of gallons of water from a tank up at the top of the hill. Now, don't worry, we're very ecologically conscious. Old Mexico, you might also recognize Old Mexico from The Three Amigos, starring Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short. And it's been seen on lots of TV shows like Community, Shameless, and House MD, starring Hugh Lord. But we're now taking you across the border from Old Mexico to the Old West. On either side of the tram, you've got some of our western sets. Off to your left, you'll see an area we like to call 6 Points, Texas, because back during the Western's heyday, there were 6 different streets in that portion of our backlot. Each one of those streets had its own bank, its own saloon, and its own sheriff's office. And because it was the silent film era, you didn't have to worry about the sound from one film set interfering with the sound of another film set, you could shoot up to 6 movies simultaneously on those streets. It's why it's called Six Points, Texas. It also makes Six Points the most filmed location in the entire world. It's right over there on your left-hand side. Some of the Western's greatest stars have moseyed on down our Western streets, including Luke Gibson, Audie Murphy, James Stewart, and the greatest Western star of them all, the Duke, Mr. John Wayne. Just down the street from our western sets, coming up over here on your left-hand side, I should say, you'll see through the trees a large body of water. That's called Park Lake. Park Lake can stand in for any body of water from all over the world. It actually stood in the entire ocean in the TV show McHale's Navy. Park Lake was also the lagoon in The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And it was where Norman Bates stashed his bodies in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Speaking of Universal horror movie stars, we're about to head on over to their birthplace. These sets off to our right-hand side that we're about to drive on through are part of a portion of our backlot we like to call Little Europe. It's where all of our classic horror movie stars got their start. Little Europe can stand in for any country in Europe. All you have to do is change the language on the signs, put up a few flags, and then there you are, here to demonstrate this for us with my celebrity co-host, Jimmy Fallon.
Mi chiamo Jimmy Fallon e tu una grossa dia di vino. Mamma mia! Je m'appelle Jimmy Fallon. Je vais avoir été baguette. Non, Charlie, non! Hallo, ich bin Jimmy Fallon. Karl Schnitzer. Ich glaub, wie steht auf mich.
You've seen our little European streets as the streets of the islands of Port Royal and Tortuga, and all three of Disney's original Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. They've been the streets of Paris in the latest Muppets movie, the streets of Rome in Angels and Demons starring Tom Hanks, and they've been seen on TV shows like HBO's True Blood. Now, the vampires and werewolves in HBO's True Blood were not the first vampires and werewolves to stalk the streets of Little Europe. Have those cameras ready, because over here on the right-hand side, you got one of those photograph portions of our backlot. This is the Court of Miracles, where all of our classic horror movie stars got their start, including Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
When we think of Universal, we think of monsters.
Dracula, Frankenstein,
Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy,
The Hunchback of Notre Dame,
The Invisible Man,
Phantom of the Opera.
classic films are just brilliantly made. They're memories now, and we love them.
Back in the early days of the Hollywood studio system, Hollywood studios were generally associated with one genre of film, which was their trademark. MGM had the musical genre, wonderful films like The Wizard of Oz, starring Judy Garland. Warner Bros. Had gangster movies, all those classic James Cagney gangster films, and Universal Studios had the horror movie genre. It's a rich part of our history that we celebrate to this day. Just off to your left-hand side, you'll see a disused train station with train tracks leading away from. That was the filming location of one of my favorite monster movies, Young Frankenstein, directed by Mel Brooks and starring Gene Wilder. The Pardon Me Boy, Is This the Transylvania Station scene is filmed right there. Right next door to our older-looking European sets, over here on your left-hand side now, is a modern-looking house. It's not a real house, it's built out here in the back lawn. It's a set built to look like a real home. It's currently being used by the talk show Home and Family, which airs on the Hallmark Channel. Home and Family is hosted by Mark Steinis and Christina Ferrari. It's a home improvement type show, like a Martha Stewart Living or a This Old House. And it's another good example of a practical set. Again, you can shoot both inside of it.
Is it? The man left his family, discredited his career to chase wild theories halfway around the world. Where are you going? To his apartment, to get his papers.
We can also seamlessly integrate our backlot sets with sets that are built later in a computer. You see those Hindu temples in the background. They were never there. They were added later during post-production.
Finding the first of death in patient zero. He tracked him to Queens, New York.
So when we don't have practical sets, guys, like in that scene, for instance, in Heroes, they walked inside this apartment, and then the scene continues, and they keep having a conversation inside the apartment. That interior was built inside of a soundstage. So we're going to take you inside one of our sound stages right now. This is Soundstage 50, and it was recently seen in an episode of Bones, starring Emily Deschanel and David Boreanaz.
Look, they're sweet.
He looks very upset.
When I talked to him, the guy died in his arms.
That's with the FBI?
FBI, yeah. Hear about the human remains.
That's him. Right over there.
You alright?
Yeah.
So Soundstage 50 is the only soundstage out here on the back lot. All the rest are on the front lot because Soundstage 50 is actually a double-decker soundstage. I mean that it has 2 stories. And we're driving onto the first story right now, and as you can see, it's decked out like an everyday subway station. The second story is just above us, and up there it's a normal street scene with cars and trucks and telephone poles and facade storefronts. And filmmakers oftentimes utilize double-deckers to shoot very long takes. For instance, they can follow the actors as they walk down the street above us with a camera rig called a Steadicam. They'll continue this shot as they head down these stairs over here on the right-hand side and then onto the subway platform. And then they'll cut because in a different soundstage we have an interior subway car set that's built. And this gives me a great opportunity to talk to you a little bit about continuity because movies are almost always shot out of sequence. The last scene is shot first, the first scene is shot last. That oftentimes has to do with the schedule of the actors and the availability of the location. Don't need to worry, guys. It's just like having movies all the time, so tell me. Okay, guys. All right, Ducky Kelly, Ducky Kelly. Okay, folks, I think the worst of it's over. No need to panic. Oh, wait a minute, it's not over. Okay, everybody panic. It's time to panic! Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. You just survived an earthquake, the big one. It's the only one that we've been under in the Universal Backlot since 1989. Large-scale mechanical effects, like earthquake, the big one, represent action scenes in some of our favorite disaster films. In reality, an action sequence like the one we just experienced would take days to shoot and involve multiple setups and shots and takes and cuts. But I think you'll agree when it all comes together, it looks pretty impressive, just like I did in this episode of Bones called Bones and the Blue Line. I don't know about you guys, but after that hectic ordeal, I could use a little rest and relaxation. What do you say we head to the beach, Graham? Alright, let's head on over to peaceful Amity Island, the setting of Steven Spielberg's 1975 film, Jaws. Now, no need to worry, guys. I hear they finally caught that shark that was terrorizing this beach community. Oh, and I think there's that shark right over there on our right-hand side, hanging up over there. Although that shark looks a little bit smaller than the one I remember from the film. Anyways, Universal Divers are currently in the water doing one final sweep before they open up the beach for tourists. So there's Universal Diver George servicing on your right-hand side. Hey, George, how's it going today? Hold on a second, folks. Yeah, I think that's a shark heading towards George. Well, no need to worry, ladies and gentlemen. George is one of our most experienced divers who should be totally fine. Well, in unrelated news, we're currently hiring experienced divers here at Universal, so if you're feeling qualified, so Graham, I think you have the right idea. Let's head on down the pier here a little bit. Hey, Graham, why don't we park? I see safe-looking barrels marked flammable? We should be fine, guys, as long as the pier stays in one place. That's a bit of natural cover for us when we're hanging out in this lagoon area. Should be okay. I'm pretty sure that pier doesn't move like that. Should that gasoline just be spraying all over the deck like that? Oh, boy. Okay, alright guys. None of these have been good signs, so I'm going to need you to be on the lookout for a shark. He's pretty big, he's got lots of teeth, and he's a shark! Okay guys, now I know that shark looks pretty fake up close, but tell me why. If you look just behind you, you'll see the only shark in the world that can do the backstroke. We're very proud of them here at Universal. But the shark we have here on the backlog is much more reliable than the one they used on set of the 1975 film. That shark broke down so much that the crew ended up nicknaming the production Flaws. Here to tell us a little bit more about that infamous shark is Steven Spielberg. It stars Richard Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider.
That's a much maligned shark. The shark was frustrating. It didn't really work all the time. It didn't work hardly at all.
Wherever you were on the island, you could hear the radio waves. And they were always saying, the shark is not working. Repeat, the shark is not working.
We just waited around. We just waited. The shark worked well enough. For a while there, it had the biggest hit of all time. So I really owe the shark a lot.
That lagoon area off to our left-hand side, it's very famous for its terrifying great white shark, but it's also famous for murder, because it was the setting of Cabot Cove, Maine, on 12 successful seasons of Angela Lansbury's Murder, She Wrote. In fact, the backyard of this White House over here on our right-hand side was Jessica Fletcher's backyard. Guys, just so you know, I'm going to keep the camera off for the rest of the tour because it's a very bright white light. It kind of reflects off of our front windshield, and I don't want to distract Graham while he's driving, but I'll still talk to you. This White House over here on the right-hand side was the one which had Jessica Fletcher's backyard. It's currently being renovated for an upcoming TV show that's shooting here at Universal Studios called About a Boy. So be on the lookout for that upcoming mid-season here on NBC. It's based on the Hugh Grant movie of the same name. And it's also been featured in episodes of The Mentalist starring Simon Baker, and Quantum Leap starring Scott Bakula. Fans of another very famous television series will no doubt recognize this theme music right here. That's right, guys. Welcome back to Wisteria Lane, home of some very desperate housewives. Over here on your left-hand side, you got a beige house with white trim. That's where Gabby lives. She's played by Eva Longoria. Right next door to her is a lilac house. That's where Bob and Lee called home. That lilac house was also 1313 Mockingbird Lane, the original Munsters television series. Again, on your left, you'll see a yellow house with white trim. That's where Susan lived. She was played by Terry Hatcher. She was the detective of the group. That's very appropriate because that's also where the Hardy Boys lived in the 1970s. Right next door to Susan, you'll see Lynette Scabo's home on your left-hand side. She was played by Felicity Huffman, who earned an Emmy for her work on this series. Now, prior to the second season of ABC's Desperate Housewives, the end of the street looked kind of bare, but because of the success of the first season of the show, they built a few more houses and this beautiful little park. We're about to do a U-turn around right now at the end of the street. On your right-hand side, at the end of the street, you'll see Edie Britt's house. She was played by Nicolette Sheridan. More recently, was home to Renee, played by Vanessa Williams. And let's see what Wisteria Lane looks like in action on ABC's Desperate Housewives.
If there is one thing everyone in suburbia can appreciate, it's a good neighbor.
Oh, what the heck? Let's move that!
The most perfect house on the street is coming up over here on your left-hand side. It's the blue house, the brick first story. It's where Bree lived, played by Marcia Cross, and that's her exiting her front door on your screens. As you can tell, there's a lot of history out here on Wisteria Lane before the Desperate Housewives moved in. The street is called Colonial Street. And as we head out of Colonial Street, you can take a look off to your right-hand side and again see that beige house, which once belonged to Gabby, played by Eva Longoria. That beige house was also home to James Stewart and his imaginary friend Harvey in the 1950 film of the same name. The Desperate Housewives lived out here for 8 years. So they called this home for quite a while. So in honor of that, let's watch another clip from ABC's Desperate Housewives.
Next morning, Edie Britt decided to announce her return to Wisteria Lane.
Okay, you're not going to believe this, but she's back.
Edie, is that really you?
You know someone else my age with a body like this? Well, what happened to your tenant? He came into some money and decided to move. We thought, what the heck? Let's move back. We? Oh, you don't know. I have a husband now. Really? Whose?
So as we just saw, Colonial Street is a perfect example of a modern American suburban street, so much so that it was also used as the setting of the Tom Hanks film The Burbs, but sometimes the script calls for sets with a bit more of a fanciful and imaginative look. This was exactly the case for Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And it's appropriate I mentioned that film because our next stop is going to be Whoville, and here to tell us a little bit more about the production of that film.
Became a reality.
Alright guys, so our next stop is going to be Whoville at the base of Mount Crumpet. It's the home of the Who's, and each year they trumpet. Every Who here in Whoville likes Christmas a lot, from the eldest of Who's to the tiniest tot. So join the celebration, it's here you belong, and as we trim up the tree, please sing along.
You're the man, Mr. Grinch.
Trim up your pants with fuzz of fuzz, and with your loose muzzle buzz. Trim up the town with goo guns and beers or things, and trim up the tree with basil, pinks, and boys.
Dude, your favorite conversation.
You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. Robin, touch you.
The puddings and pies is with our new friend the Grinch, whose heart's now 3 sizes bigger than ever. He's changed his old ways and wishes you all happy holidays. As we wave goodbye to our friends the Who's, why would this neighbor they choose? That's right, guys. Welcome back to the legendary Bates Motel set, made famous in Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 thriller Psycho. Owned and operated, of course, by Mr. Norman Bates.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I think I just saw the proprietor of the Bates Motel heading into room number 1 while we do a little bit of housekeeping. Oh boy. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's a... Well, we didn't see anything, Norman. No, we saw nothing. Don't worry. Oh boy, this is a little awkward. I hope he doesn't come back out. Oh, there he is again. Hi, Norman. Yeah, nothing to see here. Just 180 or so tourists taking a tour of the Universal Backlot. How you doing? You want to come over and say hi to the guests? Maybe, I don't know, sign some autographs or something? Oh, maybe he has a pen? That's not a pen, that's a knife! Graham, it's a knife! We should get out of here. Okay, yeah. Okay, don't walk towards car number 1 no more. Walk towards car number 4. Yeah, car number 4 is where you want to go. Okay, good luck, car number 4. Whew. That was a close call, Graham. You saved our lives back there. We're going to head up the hill here now, guys, from where Norman Bates works up to where Norman Bates lived. On your left-hand side, you'll see the legendary Psycho house set where Norman would like to spend some quality time with his mom. No. And then we're going to take you from these legendary sets to one of the more impressive sets out here on the backlot. This is the crash site from Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds, starring Tom Cruise. Nighttime is the perfect time to see this set, guys. We're going to pause the tram in a few moments. When we do stop the tram, please feel free to stand up, look around, take as many photos as you like. While we're stopped here, we've got Steven Spielberg, his longtime production designer Rick Carter here to tell us a little bit more about this very impressive set.
The airplane crash site set is a perfect example of a set that is all designed around a vision that Steven had.
When we first began to sit down to talk about the War of the Worlds, I thought, what if the 747